Another edition of Riding Home. Dean Legge, Dylan Webber. Dylan, certainly a busy 24 hours after the SEC championship game. The biggest thing I want to touch on is Sam Pittman leaving to go to Arkansas, the ramifications from that. One thing I want to do, too, first is read what Sam had to say when he started his tenure at Arkansas today on Monday. He says, I think that getting these big people, getting size, talent, all of those things, everybody has to do it. Here's the key point. I thought I knew how to recruit until I went to Georgia. It was recruiting on steroids there. I really learned a lot from Kirby Smart there about passion and recruiting. I've done well there in my life, but it helped me prepare for this job. What's your kind of thought on what Sam had to say and his overall point there?
I think it just highlights that no one does recruiting like Kirby Smart does. Kirby Smart doesn't necessarily have the best recruiting classes in the entire country every year, but no one goes as hard after recruits and puts as much time and effort along the recruiting trail, going to all these places across the entire country, Las Vegas, California, Rhode Island as well, all these places. I think Kirby Smart, that just highlights that he goes after it way harder than any other coach in the country.
Yeah, and after you lose, like Georgia did on Saturday, it's real easy for critics to say, well, you're not doing anything with the talent. And I think there is a criticism to be made there. I'm not sure it's quite that black and white, frankly, because I've seen Georgia not recruit well, and they really didn't recruit the way that they are right now under Mark Richt. There's no comparison. I will fight someone about that. I won't fight them. It just shows how stupid they would be. Georgia has not always recruited like this. They've recruited like this for the vast majority of Kirby's time, not including the first year. It was kind of thrown together. So you're seeing from Jake Fromm's class on how important it was, and those guys have gone 33-3 in the regular season, which has given them an appearance in the quarterfinals essentially from that point forward. It is absolutely critical to recruit the way that you need to, and I guess maybe I'm chasing windmills right now talking about that, but Kirby will in 3 years' time in a row will have signed Jacob Eason, Jake Fromm, and Justin Fields. That's a hell of a recruiting record. Justin was named to a Heisman Trophy finalist today, although I think Joe Burrow has run away with this thing.
Yeah, I think bringing up that name right now to our listeners might get them a little fired up.
Man, what can you explain that to me? I mean, like, what is the anger there, or what is the? I mean, is it the black-white thing from the baseball player? Is it that he went to Ohio State, a school that Georgia just kind of
no, I don't think.
Annoyed by?
At this point, I don't even think it's people being upset with Justin.
Is it jealousy because he's in the playoff?
Well,
I mean this when I say it. I've got no ill will towards that kid at all.
No, and I don't think, and that's not what I was insinuating.
Well, but some people do for sure.
But I don't think at this point, I don't think people do have ill will towards him. I think it's what I see at least is people getting angry with the fact that he's still not here and that Kirby and I guess Jim Chaney at the time went with Jake over Justin.
That's part of it too. I mean, it's both things at the same time. Go ahead with what you were saying.
Well, I think people are just upset with that, seeing the success that Justin went to have on this year at Ohio State and the regression, I guess, that Jake had this year.
Right, but
I mean, it's what did you expect from it last year?
I expected Justin to be a star up there.
I think I did as well.
I think that's right. That's what I expected. I don't really know, what else to say about it. The field, we're not supposed to talk about it, but the field, as a Heisman voter, I'm not supposed to discuss it, so I will only say so much. But I expected someone else to be there that was not there. And I know that college football's favorite crybaby will now have a field day with that. So,
I just have no idea who you're talking about.
Yeah, But I mean, I think Justin's had a great year. I fully expect him to be the number 1 or 2 draft pick in the NFL draft. I almost fully expected that the moment I saw him play a high school football game live. It was eye-opening. He's a special player. I think what people have a hard time reconciling is that they want the Twitter. They want to win Twitter. They only want to get something in a real brief moment, and they're not willing to listen or hear an explanation as to why Justin Fields was not the quarterback last year. And the reason why he was not the quarterback last year was because he was not better than Jake Fromm last year. Secondly, as it relates to him sticking around, there's so many things that are just such bullshit that's said about this all the time. A, if anyone thinks Georgia ran Justin off, they're crazy. B, he was not better than Jake Fromm last year, but he always had more potential than Jake Fromm. C,
especially in an offense like Ohio State.
I was just going to say that. The issue here that a lot of us, I'm not Matt or Chad or Rusty or whoever else you want to put in that category. I don't deal with recruiting every single day, but I deal with it 6 days of the week, I guess, rather than 7. And all of the consensus among the Illuminati that cover Georgia recruiting was, Justin, are we sure he's going to the right school for him? The right school for him really would have been Clemson, frankly, or Auburn. But it sort of speaks to Kirby's recruiting prowess and how well he got the job done with those 3 quarterbacks in a row. I mean, they were all at one practice at one point. It was crazy.
That is something you look back and you think that is just nuts. I think we still have a picture of that in our system. Of just the 3 of them there. That was before the National Championship. That was going in the National Championship game. All 3 of those guys. I mean, that's crazy.
3 really good, certainly college quarterbacks.
Probably, I don't want to say all future.
At least 2 pretty good NFL players. And if Jake Fromm plays like he did last year, there's no telling what he will do. They are all 3 NFL prospects for sure at the most important position in football. For me, everyone is so easily triggered by almost nothing. Dabo, Georgia fans. I mean, everybody's got to chill out and quit chasing ghosts. And I think it's great for Justin. I think that, speaking of Dabo and Georgia fan, I mean, they're going to deal with a Clemson right away, which is a tough out for both of those teams. But, I don't know why that is such a big thing. But now that's not what I intended to talk about. But I think it is something that needed to be talked about. I mean,
it was a big discussion point on just the internet on Saturday and Sunday too. It was just, look at Justin.
Justin has not played great at the end of the year. He played better earlier in the year. I'll say that. But he totally could take home a national championship. But the way that Georgia fans feel about him, almost certainly Ohio State people feel about Joe Burrow. But Joe Burrow was told you won't start here. That was never said to Justin. In fact, and I want you to speak to this just a little bit. I don't want to say Georgia was bending over backwards, but they were always going to play him no matter what.
Yeah, I agree with that. They always wanted to try and get him in there. And you can see that. Most programs around the country would not do what they did for their backup quarterback.
I agree.
I would say no program would. And Georgia did, and it didn't work very well, I don't think.
No.
But they tried to make it work. They wanted to get Justin on the field. They wanted to play him.
And they did.
Yeah.
And he needed to develop, man. And that's what you saw this year. I mean, and yet nobody kind of takes shits on Eason, then they'll say, he didn't do it like Justin did. Yeah, but it wasn't there for Jacob to do it that way.
Yeah,
that wasn't to Jacob's benefit necessarily. I do know for a fact that he would have played in the national championship game and tried to help Georgia win a national championship if he would have been there. But did Justin play in the Sugar Bowl? No,
He didn't play, but he was
he
there.
was there.
Yeah.
I didn't understand that at all. But
Why they didn't play him?
I understood why they didn't play him because of what was coming down the pipe, and they already knew it. But I didn't understand why he stuck around. I thought that was odd.
Yeah, I guess he was down to play if they had a spot for him to get in there.
Yeah,
If Jake did get hurt, I guess he was interested in playing. But
he would have played. Yeah.
Yeah, I thought it was a little weird too.
But it's I think I get triggered by people being triggered, and it just like it annoys me because I think we have to have a higher level of discourse. And I know I'm talking about college football, something that in the grand scheme of things doesn't really matter, but I'm getting worried that more and more, sort of facts don't matter in college football either. I spent a lot of Sunday after posting all we post. I mean, you read on Saturday, Sunday, Florida fans were going crazy about Kirby. I mean, crazy.
Tennessee fans were going in on Jake too.
Yeah, why? Because he's saying something? I mean, he's beat your ass 3 times in a row. What do you expect?
You got to get your shots in when you can, I guess.
Yeah, when LSU beats you, I mean, like beats the other team. Everybody's got it. I mean, it's so silly, and it's becoming normal. And instead of saying, "Hey, they lost, they got blown out," I'm glad they got blown out. It's like, well, Jake Fromm's terrible. That's what people will say. Well, what does it say about you that they put up almost 50 points on your team if they're terrible?
Yeah, then that must mean Tennessee is just all kinds of bad if Jake Fromm is awful.
Yeah. But recruiting is only, heating up just now, and we're 9 days away. Sorry, man. I just
no, we good. That was just what had to be at least 10-minute sidetrack.
It was a sidetrack, but this is riding home. Yeah, go ahead.
It happens. No, it happens, and I think it needs to be talked about.
It does, and I don't think anybody is going to have sympathy for Brent Cox, but that is a totally different situation than what Justin dealt with, and also too, there's a lot of people that are Georgia fans that are all over Fromm, and I think there's nothing wrong with having some healthy criticism of the guy, but sometimes that's getting taken too far as Fromm is concerned.
But, yeah, it's just the perspective. The thing you got to remember is we're talking about college kids here.
Well, yeah, we're talking about college kids playing. In terms of who's doing the criticism.
No, I know.
Yeah.
It's like when we're talking about criticism, you got I think criticism's okay. It's the deal with sports. Criticism happens at the high school level too, but
yeah,
you just got to tone it down sometimes.
I do want to go over some recruiting nuggets here for everyone who's stuck around here at the end. Start talking about Sam Pittman. How do you think he'll do at Arkansas, by the way?
It's so hard to say. I don't know. I really just have no idea. I think he'll do better than Chad Morris.
That's what an SEC coach said to me yesterday. Was I just asked their view of it, and they said, they'll do better than Chad Morris. So what happened to Chad Morris? They said he was awful and had no idea what they were doing. Broderick Jones told Mark. It wasn't Broderick that said this to Mark Weiser from the Banner Herald, but it looks like he's going to go into February. You have Micah Morris pushing off his recruit, his what would have been probably a commitment to Georgia, pushing that off later. What's your view on Broderick? I know you don't talk to him every day or anything like that, but you did deal with him at some point.
I know he was a big fan of Sam Pittman.
Yeah.
That's I don't think a shocker to anyone. That's a big reason why all these offensive linemen come to Georgia was because of Sam Pittman. And I think he wants to stay close to home. That's what the impression he always gave to me. And it just seemed to him Georgia was such an easy option when they had him.
Right.
Because he knew he could get developed and be the player he wants to be and go to the NFL with the, I guess, the mentorship of Sam Pittman. But that does put things into question because he was already even a little on the fence then and still looking at Auburn. And so that I think that does probably make it more of a recruiting battle there than it was before.
The interesting thing, so Sam goes to Arkansas on Sunday, and later that night, there's reporting that Auburn will be changing offensive coordinator. So this it's just that time of year where things are so fluid. We're recording this for our podcast and so forth, but by the time in this 15 minutes, something could have changed dramatically, and you and I not know it. So that's a good spot to wrap everything up. Below, you will see, and I really would encourage everyone to click on the link below in the show description about the recruiting report for today. I'll put that in there, recruiting on steroids at Georgia. It's already pretty well read. And I would encourage you to go to the site. We got 2 months of dog posts for $2. $2. It's time to sign
Pretty
up.
insane. I got $2 in my pocket right now. That easy.
Overpaid. All right, thanks for joining us. Stay tuned tomorrow. Dean Legge and Dylan Webber riding home here on Dog Post.